Hello wild people, welcome to AK Wild One. One of the main themes of this channel is the importance of staying active and living well as we grow older. Last year I shared a documentary with you about Neil Hannan, a Vietnam veteran who, after surviving some of the bloodiest battles in the war, decided to return to Vietnam in 2010. During that visit, he reunited with a woman he had saved as a young girl during the war. He resolved to improve her living situation by paying for her medical care and renovating her house. A short time later, he started a humanitarian program focused on education and helping the poor and elderly. I'll leave a link in the description if you want to watch that documentary. Today, Neil talks about his recent trip to Vietnam and the positive impact he had on the lives of the Vietnamese people.
Well, my name's Neil Hannan. I just got back from my 9th trip to Vietnam, the first trip being in 1968 as a combat infantryman. It's a long flight over there, and what came to mind during that flight was I enlisted right out of high school into Army, directly from graduation of the Army. And before I actually entered the Army, a classmate of mine came over and he said, "You know, you'll do all right. I think you'll be all right." I said, "Of course I will. I enlisted in the Army Security Agency. I'm guaranteed that." He said, "You'll be secure all right. They'll give you an M16 and send you out in the field." And by gosh, JD was right. JD was right. So my first return trip was in 2010 with several other veterans from my infantry company. And during that trip, I made a point to seek out a girl whose life I saved when I was brand new in Vietnam. I carried her out. She was injured severely. And we found her. And it was a very emotional reunion. And then I started helping her and her mother. And that's how the humanitarian effort started. And so all my memories of Vietnam were horror, the combat, and the trauma, and your guts in a knot all the time, and never being able to be at ease. We lived in the field 24/7 for months on end, and so now that I'm involved in this humanitarian work for just this one family, that changed, because now the memories of Vietnam are not just it's the horror of combat, ground combat. It's helping and healing in Vietnam. And so when Son, the girl whose life I saved, passed away, I'll also say I went in 2011. I did a return trip and visited, of course, Son and her mother. And then following that, within a year, Son passed away. And so I didn't return again until 2015. And those several years, I needed that time in Vietnam. I needed to be over there doing what I was doing. So in 2015, I got more heavily involved in humanitarian work. 2016 was really accelerated. So, and it's continued 2017, 2018, 2022, and then now this year, 2024. And this year was an extremely successful program. We started off in a way with Eyeglasses. I had many hundreds of kids screened for vision at a couple of schools. And we produced 200 pairs of eyeglasses for those most in need. And I personally handed each child his or her pair of glasses, and it was just great. We also took over 200 pairs of reading glasses used from the Lions Club, Copper River Basin Lions Club, and had the vision checked of many hundreds of prospective recipients. The Women's Union of Vietnam had all these ladies and men all ready to go. And the eye doctor on site, he was on site the entire time, checked the vision of all the elderly folks. And we had the glasses all lined up on tables by strength, and they could pick out their pair of glasses that they preferred based on what they needed as far as the correction and the configuration of the frames. But what I didn't understand would be happening is this eye doctor, if we didn't have what they needed, he had them made for them. Also, if they needed glasses for nearsightedness, he did those too at no additional expense. So that was a great program. We did that in 2 rural communities. Following that, I gave away 1,000 chickens to 20 families with a feeder, a water, and a 50-pound bag of feed. What's amazing to me is usually it's a feeder and a water and 50 chickens, 21-day-old chickens. But they threw in a bag of feed because they said the price went down. I said, that's amazing. Prices went down somewhere. I went north to what was called the DMZ during the war, the demilitarized zone, and stayed at Dong Ha and went to the village of Ni Ha, where I fought a pretty grueling battle in May of '68. The school there to which I went is located really right where our dug-in position was during the war. And there, we lined all the kids up, and it was rather cool that day. They all had, some had down jackets on and stuff. It was cool for Vietnam anyway. And I knelt down and I handed out 2,800 writing tablets, 5 to each child in the younger years, and then 10 to each child a bit older. So that's I really enjoy going to Ni Ha and helping the kids there. I enjoy this entire program because it, being able to help in Vietnam has been a positive aspect of my Vietnam experience. And so rather than just horror, you have the feeling you get by helping over there. It just offsets a lot of that. So the Ni Ha in particular we lost 29 men there in one battle. So going back, and I'm sure that, the elderly people in that village remember a lot about that battle and the war up there in general. The DMZ was a hotbed of activity. And I went to, there was a memorial to that battle, not to our men, but to their men that died in the battle. There was a memorial there. I went to visit that. And after giving a computer to the school at Ni Ha, I moved back down to Hue. And there, I visited a kindergarten with 250 children, and I went to each classroom. They all had skits, and they're hugging on you and everything. It was really neat. I enjoyed that a lot. And then we moved away from there and on to visit some of my regular folks. And while in Da Nang, Thong, my friend and guide, and I hired a car and driver to take us to the old LZ Cold area. And that's where in February '68 I first choppered out to my infantry company, and where I came across Son, the injured little girl. So there are 2 196th Infantry veterans that live in that same area. And one is Tua and one is Dong. Dong has no legs, and Tua's in fairly good health. His eyesight's failing a little, but he's doing okay. And I went to visit Lady Thee's grave, Son's mother, who died in the last couple of years at 96 years old. So those are regular visits that I make every time I go back to Vietnam. And one of the more interesting endeavors was an eyeglass program that I decided while over there we're going to add another 100 pairs of glasses. And Khan, my contact in Hue, said, he looked at me like, oh no, here he goes again. But so we did. The optometrist went to a very mountainous rural village of Hom Ha, not far from Hamburger Hill, which was famous during the war, and screened over 300 children And then I went there with Con of Hearts for Way, and I handed each child his or her pair of glasses and put them on their heads. And then we always check the vision on a chart to make sure that the prescription is accurate. I also decided, instead of giving candy, which is my norm, to give away toothbrushes and toothpaste to each child. But the kids over there are just so appreciative of anything you do for them, and they were all smiling and just enjoying every minute of it, as was I. Returning to Vietnam for me is a rewarding endeavor, and I've said before, it tempers the helping and healing there, tempers all the horrific memories of Vietnam, and none of this would be possible without contributions from my friends and relatives and people I don't even know, because they believe in what I'm doing, and every dollar goes directly to aid to the people in need there, the poor, the disabled, the elderly, the children, and I just am forever indebted to the people that have made this program possible, and we're helping and healing in Vietnam, and to the people, the recipients, we're giving them the means to help themselves with chickens, pigs, and that sort of thing, and we're providing hope and pride also, and it's all very important, and it's the reason I go back every year and help these deserving people.